Welcome, fellow Astro nerds, to another episode of Astro Tea Weekly. With me, intuitive evolutionary astrologer and psychic tarot reader Crystal, the crystalline priestess. This is essentially just a quick little reading where we have a look at the stars and we pull some cards and we just get a basic vibe overview of what we can expect coming in for us over the week ahead. So without further ado, my loves, let's get into the energy of this week. Okay, my loves, so welcome. We're just going to go through each day this week one by one, but we're going to kind of pull some cards and just have a basic little chat about the vibes overall in general. So while we do have a lot going on this week, I want to say that there's some positive and there is some negative. Now, the most overall energy, the most fundamental feeling and vibe that I was picking up for this entire week is a very spiritually awake and aware and a very prominent, affluent, that's not the word I'm looking for. It's like this prominent emphasis, that's the word I'm looking for. It's this emphasis on our emotional intelligence being absolutely crucial for how we're going to navigate the craziness of what it is that we're currently moving through and just the intensity of what's going on within the collective as people who are all having to deal with, you know, a collective that is absolutely divisive and that is absolutely split at the moment and just going through all sorts of crazy shit. So the first two cards that we do have out is the Whale, which says imagination and emotional memory, and we have the Hedgehog, inner world and curiosity. So I love this because I think that this is a week of massive personal, and I just heard social awareness. So I think that with Magic and Destiny coming out with the Raven, I think that this is very much a week of us needing to tune into what it is that we are trying to be told through the voice of spirit and through our own inner world. I love this little hedgehog. It is so cute, and I love the word curiosity. It's giving me this real Gemini sort of childlike vibe to it. So let's jump in to Monday. Monday is, I don't want to say it's a calm before the storm because we're already really feeling it. The sun is at 28 degrees of Libra, which means it's already starting to square over here with Pluto, who is at 29 degrees. And if you guys can tell, we have Mars over here at 24 degrees of Cancer, who is making that opposition with Pluto and who is still squaring with the sun as well. Now, they're not exact, so that's kind of good, but at the same time, it's still a very strong and it's still a very potent energy. And with the North Node being in Aries, we do have Mars as the dispositor of this North Node, which means that Mars is kind of the big daddy. We pay attention to how he is moving throughout this transit because it's really going to be affecting us. Now that Mars is at 24 degrees, he's well and truly slowed down. He began to go shadow at 17 degrees of Cancer, and so now that he's at 24 degrees, he's beginning to oppose with Pluto, and this is the first time we're going to start really feeling this opposition with Pluto building up towards the end of the week as it gets even stronger. And next week is actually when we're going to start having that exact Pluto opposition, and that's going to actually be a theme that we're going to be touching over a lot over the next 6 months. So this is that oh shit moment. We are just coming off a full moon in Aries that I just went to say eclipse as well, and it was an eclipse. It was not an eclipse, but it really felt as though it had this eclipse-like energy to it. I think because it was that culmination for the new moon in Aries that we did have on April 8th at the beginning of this year. That was with Chiron. This full moon was with Chiron. You know, we had that closing out of that chapter and there was a big healing moment, and we're still sort of in this moment of having to be curious, I think, about our emotions. That's what this is, that emotional intelligence, being curious about the way we feel with this Mars in an opposition to Pluto, and with the sun now being in this square to Pluto as well. And so you can see here that Monday, the lines aren't super duper red as they are on Tuesday. You can see here on Tuesday just how thick and red that line gets. And so that actually means, you know, just for my friends out there who are learning astrology, when the line gets thicker, basically that just means it becomes more exact. So we have 29 degree sun in Libra, and then that 29 degree Capricorn Pluto, and so it becomes an exact square that we have on Tuesday. And so Monday is still us kind of building into that square, and so you know, you're starting to feel it, but it's not quite smack banging you in the face yet. Tuesday is when we're going to get smack banged in the face, and we're going to be kind of our heads are going to be spinning. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing like one of those cartoons where they sort of spin and then get slapped and then their head spins. And so we have to be curious about our inner world, and our imagination, I think, is actually a really beautiful, powerful portal for understanding our emotional memories, you know? I think that that's something that in our society, especially with Pluto being in Capricorn and being in these really amazing connections over here with Neptune at 27 degrees of Pisces and with Uranus at 26 degrees of Taurus, this is very, very subconscious stuff, which is needing us to understand that we have a lot of oppressed emotional issues, especially with this Mars being in Cancer. We have very repressed emotional issues that are coming up for us to transmute them with this Pluto opposition, because this ending of Pluto in Capricorn is ending with the Mars opposition in Cancer, which means that there are emotions that we've been bottling up and hiding for 16 years, since 2008. You know, and so also with the nodes being here, stuff since 2004, 2005, we're dealing with some really tight, I feel like I'm seeing it as tight, like I'm seeing as people holding on so tightly to wounds that they didn't even realize they were holding on to, you know. I think this imagination is an opportunity to heal, and because I think it's allowing yourself to visualize yourself as healed. It's allowing yourself to see in your mind's eye the truth. And I think that this is really going to be a week that really could with this Raven as well, really call upon meditation as being a very affluent and a very effective way to access communication with spirit and to access a communication with your guides, because I feel as though this week our guides are really, really wanting to speak, and especially because by the end of the week you can see that Mars is here at 24 degrees of Cancer. By the end of the week he's going to reach 26 degrees of Cancer, and he's going to start to make a really nice trine over to Neptune, who's in Pisces. And so it's offering us a lot of magical energy, I think, this week. Even though we have the week starting off with this really major T-square and a very prominent square that we have with the Sun and Pluto, it's still very, I think, positive in the sense we have the Alchemist coming out, that we are being gifted an opportunity for alchemization. And that's what Pluto is. It's transformation. Oh my god, I can't speak. It's transformation, it's alchemization, it's turning lead to gold, and it really is essentially, you know, making lemon out of lemonades. And so with the Sun in Libra, a lot of us are feeling like we are, I think, dealing with some really harsh push and pull situations when it comes to feeling like our relationships are tugging on us and our careers are tugging on us and our families are tugging on us, and we're feeling like we're not getting enough out of things, or we feel as though we're not putting enough into our relationships. This is with that Alchemist coming out. Monday really, and moving into Tuesday, is really offering us an opportunity to start to really, really learn to move with these energies in a way that is going to help us, you know, transform ourselves into a version that is less reactive and more emotionally aware. It's more intelligent. It's more, you know, we have Mercury, who's at 12 degrees of Scorpio on Tuesday, and who starts to make this really beautiful trine over to Saturn, who is in Pisces. And so we're needing to see and understand where our spiritual work and the work that we put in spiritual occult work, you know, the stuff that we're doing when it comes to how we feel like we're filling our soul up spiritually, and the work that we're doing when it comes to deep, 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 true purification of our spirit, you know, and that sort of correlates to what are you doing spiritually? What are you doing morally? I think morals is something that's going to be coming up this week with that Mercury making its trine over to Saturn. I think that it's a really lovely opportunity because we also have, you know, on Wednesday, we do have a grand trine that we'll build with the moon. You know, as we have this really lovely moment between Mercury and Saturn. And so the Sun moves into Scorpio on Wednesday and still is in square with Pluto, but is now sort of, you know, the ruler of Pluto is Scorpio. And so there is kind of this weird sort of nice energy in the middle of this kind of chaotic weirdness. And so the light attributes of the Alchemist is transformation of base motives and goals into golden wisdom. The shadow attribute is a misuse of the power and knowledge that come through spiritual practice. So I feel as though the thing that's really coming up for us especially at the start of the week, is really asking for our clarity when it comes to how we're using our spiritual gifts. I feel like this connection with Mercury, Scorpio, Saturn, this is like that moment where it's like, if you've been doing shady stuff, you're going to be called out for it, and especially spiritually. If you have been doing things that are out of moral alignment, it's going to come up with that Sun square Pluto. We need to understand that if you are not caring for other people, if you are not considering other people, if you are just focusing entirely on how you can get ahead, if how you can, you know, have a better and better recognition, or how you can be perceived as being cooler and cooler and better looking on the external without actually paying any attention to the emotional realm or world of yourself or anybody around you, that's going to leave you feeling, and you know, I'm talking about Diddy shit. I'm talking about those types of people who let go of themselves in search of recognition and who lost, you know, the truth of art. We have femme fatale coming out. The light attributes highlights the erotic energy of the feminine, opens your heart when your dependency is rejected. The shadow attributes is an inappropriate use of sensuality and an attachment to money and power. And so that's what this stuff is with these guys. We really are seeing the truth in the fact that they are so attached to being seen as a certain way, attachment to money and power. They just are telling a story. It's not true. It's literally a story. The way these people have painted themselves, and that's what this Pluto square with Libra Sun is. It's the collective having to see the lie. This is the end of Pluto and Capricorn. You know, we've had Pluto here since 2008. A lot of these people started doing this shady shit in Pluto Sagittarius. And so now we have Pluto who's moved through the entire next sign and who starts to reach Aquarius and now starts to go, hey, you guys did an awful lot to try and reach a certain level of status and prestige. And now when Pluto hits Aquarius, the people are going to start questioning your morality. Where was your heart, Leo? Where was your soul? You know, and so the square with the sun is needing to understand where Libra can get so lost. That's why the sun is in fall in Libra, because the sun can get lost in wanting to be seen and perceived as being cool, being perceived as being in touch with itself, as being perceived as being awesome and part of the group. You know, I'm really seeing someone like Will Smith who wants to look the part. You know, I'm the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and he's done so much cool stuff in his career. You know, he's done so much awesome stuff. He's done Bad Boys, he's done all this stuff, and people thought he was so cool. I used to love the movie I Am Legend, all that stuff, and then now it's coming out that he is a part of all that Diddy stuff too, and he's just as effed up as them. And then all of a sudden, this big beautiful reputation that you had built for yourself, this mask that you put on in Libra, and this, you know, attempt that you had to sort of, with this, even the whale, this imagination that you tried to paint yourself as a picture of something, the mask has to come down. You know, the wall has to crumble. Humpty Dumpty falls off the wall eventually. We have the artist and the dilettante coming out. The light attributes is expressing a dimension of life that is just beyond the five senses, inspiring others to see life symbolically. The shadow attributes is using talent as an excuse to mistreat others, posing as the starving artist to elicit pity. And that's what a lot of these people did. They used talent to mistreat others. They used what they had in order to mistreat other people. The artist, like, you know, the word artist really has even been tainted if you consider the reality of what these people have done to such a sacred form of human expression. So I feel as though, and that's the thing with Libra, people forget that Libra is the artist. Libra is Venus. Venus is the artist. And so we have the dilettante and the artist out here. So we need to understand where this is not about becoming superficial in what it is that we're creating. Superficial in the way that we look. Superficial in the way that we show up. You know, even me, you know, I keep looking at the video and I've mentioned this so many times because I'm going through a very awkward phase in my life with the way I look at my hair and all this sort of stuff, and it just is what it is, and it's just, you know, where I'm at. But I'm looking at this and I'm like, what is going on? Like, really, I washed my hair this morning. What is going on? How is this so crazy? My hair is growing out of just craziness, and it's just, you know, even this card, like, her hair is kind of going everywhere. And so we're having to understand, especially with Jupiter being in a retrograde at the moment, that our minds are sort of all over the place and our aesthetics are back and forward and we're not sure what we're doing yet. Venus is now in Sagittarius, who's making these beautiful, like I said, trine and sextile over to the north and south node. And so we're having to really look at where our values have been asking for us to realize for them to, that they're trying to that came out wrong. Our values have been trying to get us to realize that we've been putting our time, energy, and attention in the wrong place somewhere. And so with this, I think with this sun being in a square to Pluto, it's this need for us to understand as the sun moves into Scorpio, which disposits Pluto, we need to understand where we have not been giving ourselves an opportunity to truly be ourselves because we've been trying to show up as an image. We've been trying to show up as, you know, someone that looks a certain part. We have the dilettante that says delights in the arts without having to be a professional, alerts you to the danger of becoming superficial in your pursuits. The shadow attribute is a pretension to much deeper knowledge than you actually possess. So this is about needing to be actually honest with where you're at. You know, are you trying to pretend that you're an artist when really you're actually a dilettante? You're only dabbling. You're not really, you know, spending all day every day in the studio working on these amazing art pieces, but you're just sort of jumping in and out. This is about us needing to be honest with ourselves about why even maybe we haven't reached certain goals and levels that we've wanted to get to, because maybe with that Libra we've wanted to take the easy way out. We wanted to do things, especially with Venus being disposited there in Sagittarius, we've wanted to do things that were more fun or more exciting, or, you know, we keep changing our minds. We keep doing something over here because it excites us, and then we do something over there because it excites us the next week. So it's about us needing to understand where that energy can be good, but it also, there needs to be a level with this Mercury in a trine over with Saturn. We need to understand that there always has to be a level of sticking things out. There has to be a level of sticking to something. That's what this Pluto and Capricorn has been trying to teach us to do. Saturn in Pisces here, we have to spiritually connect with something in order to stick it out sometimes, or the majority of the time. You know, a lot of us, we ask why or wonder why we can't stick to things, and it's because we're not spiritually aligned. I also forgot to mention that on Monday, we have an amazing yod just before the sun starts to have that intense proper square with Pluto and it starts to move into Scorpio. We have a really powerful yod between Neptune at 27 and between Uranus at 26, who is on top of Algol. And so we need to really connect with God over this week. And when I say God, whatever that's going to look and sound like for you, but your spirituality, you know, it's the same thing. We have the moon who's coming into a conjunction with Jupiter on the same time or the same day as we have that yod. And so it's really about looking at the positive opportunities that we have around us. We have detective coming out, great powers of observation and intuition, desire to seek out the truth. So it's about seeing a truth today, and a really strong truth that I think a lot of us have been denying, or today, but this week. Goddess is the feminine expressed through wisdom, nature, life force, and sensuality. Exploitation of the female nature and form is the shadow attribute. So I like this because I feel like that's what that Sun square Pluto is. It's about having to understand that the divine feminine is asking for us to pay attention and to treat her with kindness. You know, Mars in Cancer opposition with Pluto, we need to be treating ourselves with kindness. Bully archetype is out here, highlights your tendency to intimidate others, helps you confront the inner fears that bully you. The shadow attribute is conceals deep fears behind verbal or physical abuse. And so we're having to deal with abuse today, and I think that's what this yod is sort of forcing us to do in Libra, in the square to Pluto. It's got us dealing where we've abused ourselves, where we have essentially abused others, where we've had to go through some really dark stuff. We have intuition coming out. So this is all really subconscious stuff that is coming up this week, and the reason why I'm focusing so much, I think, on the start of the week is because that Pluto square is really so intense. We have discontent and boredom with trapped in fear. Because it's going to be bringing up a lot of fear for us, you can see how there is this sort of grand cardinal cross energy that is here. So we are feeling a lot of pressure, and a lot of pressure around money and resources and finances as well as pressure around just, you know, am I good enough? Do I have what it takes? We have light coming out here, so we're struggling to see the light, I think, at some points in this week. And so let's get these guys out of the way and let's start having a look at the rest of the week. So we have Thursday, and that's when we have the moon who makes its conjunction with Mars, as Mars starts to make a really nice trine over here with Neptune. So once again, I'm just going to keep reiterating how important it is this week to be doing your spiritual rituals, ocean cleansing, swimming, being in the water. I think it's going to really help clear your mind. Swimming in the ocean, swimming in a pool, doing something that has to do with water, crying, sweating, all that sort of stuff I think is really going to be helpful, because the sun I forgot to say, you know, Wednesday the sun moves into Scorpio. By Thursday we have the sun at 1 degree of Scorpio, so we start to really get into Scorpio season now, but we are still dealing with a bit of a loose square with Mars, and we are still dealing with that square to Pluto, so things aren't still feeling quite alright yet. Things are still feeling a little bit awkward and a little bit weird. Now we have Jupiter and Chiron, who have both gotten themselves back down to 20 degrees, and so they're still dancing in this lovely little sextile over with each other, and we are still gifted with more opportunities to keep healing. And so I think that this moon conjunction with Mars, the moon is happy here, Mars is not happy here, so it is a little bit weird, but it also is this opportunity to really have this spiritual moment. And I think that Thursday is going to allow us a really nice spiritual moment to sort of have a little bit of a receiving of a blessing, or a receiving of an emotional moment of awareness, a motion of a bit of magic. I think truly that's what I kind of feel like with this square that or with this trine that's going to be coming in, because we've got so many harsh aspects that are coming through. It feels as though Spirit's kind of like, here's a little bit of moment of awareness that's going to come through for you. Loyalty and friendship we have that is coming out on Thursday for that. So it feels as though Spirit is showing us that he's still there for us. You know, no matter what we do, we have good people around us, we have good souls around us, we have friends, we have, you know, we're taken care of. I think that we have to understand that although we are going through a lot of harsh stuff at the moment, we're not left out in the cold, we're not left out in the dust or the dark entirely. Spirit has always got our back, and that's what I think that connection with the moon and Neptune is going to be. And so after the moon makes that connection with Neptune, then it squares off with the sun, who is now in Scorpio. That's only brief, thankfully, but that's on late Thursday night, early Friday morning for us Southern Hemisphere fellas. So it is really going to be brief, and it is going to be sort of not even sort of quite there for all of us, but we are still going to be waking up with this little bit of tension. And that's what this week all really is, because of that square with Pluto. No matter what, we're going to be feeling this tension all week, and that opposition that is really starting to build with Pluto now. So we're starting to feel the volatility that can really start coming up, and this is where we really need to start being careful about how we are approaching our emotions. That's why I said our emotional intelligence is everything. The whale in imagination is out here. Some of us, especially with these connections with Mars being in a connection, even though it is a really nice connection with Neptune being this sextile, being this trine, we have to be careful not to tell illusionary stories. We have to be careful not to make things up and to get caught up in a story that isn't even true, because Neptune's there. Maybe we're on drugs, or maybe we're getting lost in a fantasy or an idea of something. It's about being careful, and especially be careful driving when you're on drugs or anything like that. Obviously don't be doing that, but if you are going to be doing that, be careful, because there is that opposition with Pluto. You don't want to lose your life or lose somebody else's life or do something like that out of accidental complete stupidity. So we also do have another yod that comes in on Saturday with Mercury at 18 degrees to Jupiter and to Chiron. So still we are dealing with a lot of having to see with a detective. We're having to see through, literally the detective is out here, so we're having to look really deeply beneath the surface for what's coming up at the moment. We're in Scorpio season now, so happy birthday Scorpios. We have to start paying attention to what we've been really trying to have, I think, come into sense over the past sort of few weeks. We have Capricorn IUs. I think when it comes to especially the career that we're trying to have at the moment, our emotions are begging for us with this 8th house endings and beginnings. They're begging for us to start to show up in a different way emotionally. We have Sagittarius IC, and so we're needing to see where if we show up differently, we're going to be able to create a new start and a new chapter. And that's what this Mars opposition with Pluto is, as Pluto finishes up in Capricorn. We need to get ready for the new chapter. The new chapter is here, and anytime Pluto moves into a new sign, it brings with it the closing of the past chapter, and it brings with it a whole new opening of the next. And it comes with a slow crumbling, you know what I mean? Especially when it's in Capricorn, it's very slow, and these are very slow transits that Pluto makes through these, collective signs. And so by the time we get to Sunday, we have the sun who reaches 4 degrees of Scorpio. We have a lovely little quick, brief little trine or sextile, I keep mixing them up, with the moon who's in Virgo by the end of the week. So we are needing, once again, that health, understanding that spirituality and the health of your body and the way you're taking care of yourself. You know, my dog is sitting here drinking. Are you drinking enough water? Are you taking enough care of yourself? Are you giving yourself what you need? Especially with that Mars, Neptune, needing to be really aware, and especially with Chiron, Aries as well. And we just came off that full moon that was with Chiron, and we have Jupiter here. We have to understand where we need to be in a healthy, healing environment. Are we in a place that makes us, are we getting appropriate sunlight? You know, are we in a place that lets the light in? Are we in a place that is clean, in a place that is tidy? We need to really look at all these sorts of things in our lives and start to make decisions about where it is that we need to start cleaning things up and changing things out. And, you know, with that Scorpio, getting really deep and getting to the nitty sort of gritty of things. We're also going to have the moon that comes into a square with Venus, and Venus is now starting to square with Saturn. So it is a little bit of a T square that we have coming in. And so once again, we're starting to feel the heaviness, we're starting to feel financial weight, we're starting to feel problems with money and the difficulty of what it is that we're going through. And it's just really a week of having to have your spiritual wits about you, because things are going to be hard, they're going to be tense, they're going to be volatile. And so the reason I think that light is coming out with this trapped in fear and bully, the worst thing you could be doing over these transits for the next week is to be bullying yourself, to be bullying other people, to be yelling at yourself or yelling at other people for not being where you are. We're going to start really seeing emotional volatility ramping up. We're going to start to see a lot of emotional stuff and people wanting to escape emotionally as well. And so it is about building a beautiful life and building a beautiful hope and a fantasy within a healthy way. You know, you can fantasize in a healthy way. Daydreaming for a little bit is healthy. You have to have a healthy imagination in order to understand magic and destiny. And so I feel as though that Mars beautiful trine over here with Neptune this week, towards the end of the week, is going to help us to see where destiny has been trying to open the door for us. Chiron, Jupiter, we're needing to realize that it's our environment that really is conducive to so many things. Mercury, we have to use our intelligence to start working in a way that is more intelligent, you know, and that sounds silly, but we need to use our brains to start moving in a way that is actually going to help us clear things out with more grace. And instead of pushing ourselves so hard with that emotional intelligence piece that we keep speaking to, we need to be listening to what we need, you know, listening to the gut. When I see Mars in Cancer, I'm thinking we don't want to be overworking ourselves to the point where we start to physically break down, and where the body starts to actually break down and the body starts to lose its capacity to function because it can't keep pushing, you know what I mean? So this is a week to do what you need to do, create, have fun, try and be as positive as possible, because that negativity is going to have you feeling like you're dragged down a rabbit hole. It's going to feel like as though it's literally killing you. So my loves, I'm going to leave this reading there. I'm actually really running late on time today, so that's why I've had to talk so fast and to get through this all so quickly. I do apologize that this was such a quick run through. I'm not going to be uploading any daily horoscopes for the week ahead, so this is kind of your little deep dive into what we're going through. Well, my loves, my camera just ran out of battery, so that just cut me off, and now I don't remember what the hell I was saying, but we're going to leave this reading there anyway. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really, truly do appreciate it, my loves. Do make sure that you give this video a like if you enjoyed it, because it really does help to spread these videos to more astro lovers like me and yourself. If you would like to book a personal tarot or astrology reading with me, you could do that down below through my link tree. Make sure you check out your channeled songs for the week. I'd like to thank your angels, your ancestors, your higher self, your spirit guides, all the beautiful benevolent beings that are surrounding you and I in all moments, for allowing me to receive and to deliver this message for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next reading. Peace.